You are listening to Supplement Source, the official podcast of the Council for Responsible Nutrition. And now, your host, Jeff Ventura.
And I'm joined now by Bobby Hewitt, who runs his own company, Creative Thirst. He was one of our participants at our WellComms event in Salt Lake City this year as part of our Convergence 24. And we are very pleased to have him calling in to Supplement Source. How are you doing today, Bobby?
Doing great, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being on our little show, our little engine that could podcast. We are taking time out to kind of talk a little bit to some of the experts that we were lucky enough to have present at the WellComms event this year. Very well received, and we've heard from several people that not only did they want the decks, but they wanted to know if we were going to be doing anything else with those speakers. Did we have a recording of the session? And I said, well, hold on, because we will have some podcast episodes. And you are, I think, my second WellComms speaker. We had Brian Yam on the other day. So let's just get into it. First of all, tell me about your presentation. I mean, for the uninitiated, I'm going to pretend like I wasn't there. What were you talking about, and how do you feel it was received?
Yeah, so I was talking really about what happens in the mind of the buyer when someone goes to buy supplements online. How do they really think about the purchase? What goes through their head? What holds them back from buying? And what kind of unlocks them from making that purchase? So there were like 4 keys that I kind of gave in the presentation, and I think it was presented well. There seemed to be a ton of questions.
I didn't see any walkouts. There were no walkouts.
No, there was no walkouts, but I think you might have had the door locked. So yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for that.
And so, I mean, but those are your people, right? I mean, like, these people kind of, get this space, obviously. And you obviously, find conversational synergies with folks in that kind of conference, do you not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I live and breathe supplement optimization all day, every day. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely my people.
What are people getting wrong? Like, what when you present at a forum like that, and then they come up to you after, what are some of the things that they're like, I didn't know that I was doing that wrong, or we didn't know this, or we didn't know that. Like, what do you hear in terms of feedback?
Yeah, so I mean, we all know that, like, you need to build trust in order to sell supplements, right? Because supplements are very different than any other type of product, right? Because supplements kind of are right in the middle of a functional product and an emotional product, mm-hmm. right? Where most products are just on one side or the other, right? What I mean by functional product is, like, you buy it to perform a thing, right? You have a flat tire, you buy a new tire, right? You're immediately replacing that thing. You want it to do what it's supposed to do. And then you don't really think about it after that, right? But for an emotional product, it's more of a product that you are kind of using to portray your status. You're using to portray your self-image, right? You're wearing a watch, or you're wearing a pair of shoes. And that type of purchase is very different from a functional product. But supplements lie right in the middle because they're both functional, right? We buy them in order to improve our health, in order to get over a health issue that we're having. But they're also emotional because there's a lot of emotion in the purchase of supplement. And that's really what people are kind of getting wrong. They're all leaning in with just basic kind of trust elements, and they're forgetting about, good old-fashioned sales.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is this partly why there is opportunity for a lot of brands to really connect with their customers through influencers? Because, I mean, it is, you say it's an emotional sort of decision. In what way? Like, because it's a lifestyle extension in some cases, or what makes it emotional for people?
I think to answer that question, we have to kind of approach it from the problem perspective. And this is
Uh-huh.
another thing people are getting wrong all the time in selling supplements online. They're kind of just leading with the benefits of here's what it does, here's what it costs, do you want to buy it?
Mm-hmm.
But they're at the core, like people are really struggling with whatever health issue they have, right? It could be a sleep problem. It could be a diabetes problem. It could be an overweight problem, right?
Yeah.
All of those problems have some emotion at the core because they affect who we think we are, who we see ourselves as, right? And that's the emotion that you really have to start with. You really have to start with the problem in
Yeah.
order to open up the mind.
People are often driven to these products because they've run out of options in their mind, or they to your point, they're encountering some kind of health issue. So anyone who's been there, I mean, I was having difficulty sleeping, and I distinctly remember going out to purchase melatonin and being very selective about the brand I chose, for a myriad of different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, sleep is a big one that affects so many different areas of your health, and at that point, like you are sleep deprived, you're not your best, you're weary, it's affecting other areas of life. Maybe you are becoming more irritable because of it, right? And all of that is affecting
My
your
spouse would agree with that.
Exactly. They often get the brunt of everything.
Yeah. So we talk about this emotional element, and so it's not widgets, right? If you're selling this as a commodity, you're probably making a mistake because you're not embracing the sort of emotional, maybe mental state of the potential buyer. You're not appealing to what they're going through in the here and now. Is that right? Am I kind of getting that right?
Yeah, that's right. And most supplement buyers are actually in a low emotional state. And that's another difference of really getting them or speaking to them at their language.
Explain what you mean by low emotional state. I don't know that I even know that.
Yeah, sure. So this is not like the first melatonin you may have bought, right?
Mm-hmm.
You probably,
very, very true.
Someone with a sleep problem, right?
Yeah.
has tried a few different things before, and they've been let down. They've been failed by other products. So going into I'm going to try yet another thing is coming at the purchase from a negative perspective, from a low emotional state to begin with.
And what does one do as a marketer in that situation?
Well, with any sort of low emotional state purchase decision, the customer is living in the state of why, right? Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why can't I get rid of this? Why am I sick? Why am I fat? Why can't I lose weight? Why can't I get sleep? Right? So the reason why is sort of like a mirror it's a reflective word. It's a reflective of the past. And it looks to the past and creates an emotional loop of kind of justification. So what I mean by that is if you sell to a low emotional market, the primary word in your ads, in your offer, in your headlines really should be why, right? Because the opposite of that, a higher emotional state, is how. How can I achieve X? How can I do this? But for a low emotional buyer, they kind of feel as if they're broken in some way. Right? So this doubles on top of the being let down, which we talked about a little bit before, right? So it's like, why is this happening? Oh, is this happening because the previous supplement that I tried was just pure melatonin, right? And melatonin doesn't work for everybody. Oh, okay. So this other sleep blend has, X, Y, and Z. Maybe that's the reason why it didn't work for me before. So it taps into their emotional state, it taps into the unique mechanism of the product, and it also taps into the product, like not the product, it taps into the problem. Agitating those feelings, agitating that emotional state, agitating the thing you're trying to solve, basically.
Do companies come to you and they're like walk me through the case study? Do they come to you and they're like, Bobby, like we made, let's just stick to the melatonin example. We've got a great product. We've got XYZ pallets of this in a warehouse. But for whatever reason, it's not selling like we thought it would sell. What are we doing wrong? I mean, is that where it starts? Is it as sort of nascent and kind of baseline as that, or am I oversimplifying it?
That's pretty much the ideal client, right? Because they already have traction. They already have visitors going to a web page. They already have a website. The other type of client is a startup client, right? Mm-hmm. But ideal client is that they have traction, because it's always easier to increase fuel to the fire when there's already a fire as opposed to starting one from scratch.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do? What's the first thing that you do to sort of crack that code? I mean, is it an examination of their packaging? Is it, meeting with their marketing, people? Is it, what is it? Like, how does the ground game look like initially and then initial encounter?
Yeah, so I like to start off every engagement with a kickoff call.
Mm-hmm.
And on the kickoff call, really what I'm doing is I'm looking for untapped opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to understand where the traffic is coming from. I want to understand what type of traffic that is. Is it warm traffic? Is it cold traffic? I want to understand who the visitors are, what their buyer personas are like. And I also want to understand, like, what is the offer? So it goes traffic, product, offer, and then what is the catalyst that started someone looking for this product?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it, I haven't slept in 3 nights, or I woke up in the middle of the night 2-3 nights in a row. Like, what was it that really got them to go online and start typing in, how do I get to sleep, or whatever it is?
What are some of the aha moments that brands have in this process where they say, like, geez, like, I can't believe we overlooked that, or we should have gotten that. We should have seen that was certainly a blind spot for us. I mean, I'm sure it's different for every company, but is there something that comes to mind where it's kind of like a light bulb moment for them? Or, I mean, conversely, the perfectly legitimate answer would be that nobody's having light bulb moments these days. That light bulbs are few and far between. I know that I suffer from a light bulb deficit on occasion,
Well, it's usually a disconnect between what they thought and what the actual reality is.
Yeah.
So sometimes that comes in the place of the customer story.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, I was working with a client who was doing supplements for gut health.
Mm-hmm.
And
gut health, like stomach health.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Probiotics, prebiotics,
mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. And I did some customer interviews with their clients, people who have purchased their supplements before. And I got on the phone with these people, and it was like a one-on-one 45-minute phone interview with this person. It was like a conversation more than anything. It wasn't like, here's my list of questions and let's just go through multiple choice. No, it was I want to understand the journey that got you to a purchase,
mm-hmm.
all the way back. And many of them had really like elaborate kind of stories going all the way back to their childhood, of struggling with these issues, like since they were in their teens, whether that be from an extended bout of antibiotics or whatever, right? But there was also like this belief about supplements that came into play, which is another one of the sort of frameworks that I use is trust, belief, desire, and hope. So one of those aha light bulb moments came out of that, in which the customer or the client, really, the supplement business, didn't really have a grasp of why their customer was buying and who they were. And if you don't know that, then you fundamentally can't effectively sell to them, right? Then you're left with just, here's a list of benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not differentiating yourself. You're not telling your story in a way that lines up with their story.
Right. That could work for a functional product, right? Mm. If I'm standing in 2 inches of water in the bathtub, I just want it gone, right?
Right.
But and to a certain degree, like the supplement has to perform. It has to be functional, but there's also that emotional side. So functional works with just benefits, but it doesn't work when it's an emotional product.
This is so fascinating. I could talk to you all day about this, honestly. But if people want to continue this discussion with you, Bobby, how do they do it? Do they email you? What's the best way to reach you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Email is a great way to reach me.
Give that to us. Yeah.
Sure. It's very simple. It's Bobby, Bobby, at creativethirst.com. That's creativethirst.com.
Well, and we really want to thank you, Bobby, for coming by, or calling in, I should say, to the Supplement Source studio today. We really enjoyed seeing you in Salt Lake, and please keep in touch with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care.